Hey David, in this training, I will review the approval processes in the Cairo Salesforce org. So I've created a quick sheet for you here, just outlining all of the various approvals. There are automated approval submissions, and then there are also manual approvals. So I'll walk through kind of what that looks like in the system. And you can go through this in more detail and let me know if you have any questions. So in Salesforce, we have an approval process, which if you're in setup, you can just type in approval process or approval and you'll see this as an option. You should default onto the opportunity object, but keep in mind that you can create approvals on any object. So for example, at some point, if you did want a lead approval process, you could actually create one. And then down here, there are your active approval processes. So technically, this could have been combined into one active approval process. And then just depending on different criteria, we could have assigned to different people. But just for the sake of handing this off and having it be really clean and easy to understand, I've split this out into two. So they both look very similar. So we'll just click into one of these here. So at the top of the approval process view, you will see a lot of fields that you actually go through in your edit process. So we'll quickly walk through this. So I just clicked edit and you can actually go through these steps. So this approval process is for deal approvals. Then you can select which specific criteria that a record must meet to enter the approval process. So we aren't using this part here because we're actually using Process Builder to drive all approval requests. So nothing needs to be in this section for you. I'll click next. So this is how you decide who will approve and if someone's delegated approver is allowed to approve a record for them. And then we will select the the approval assignment template. So when a deal is submitted for approval, this email template will automatically be sent to the approvers. We can actually edit the page layout, the approval page layout. So I've already done that with just the key fields here. There is actually one change that I am going to make because we do want to see the deal approval submission comments. So again, this is completely editable. And I will go to next. And then these are the people who can submit deals for approval. And for us, we're not distinguishing who can submit deals for approval. Everyone can at this moment, but if you do want to lock it down, that's a possibility. So I will go ahead and click save here. So now we have all of that information just captured here at the top of the screen. So down here, we have a few different boxes. So initial submission actions are happening right when the deal is submitted for approval. You will see that it's set to lock the record. If this is not what you would like, you can change that. And then we also have a deal submitted for approval email template going to the person who submits the deal for approval so that they're aware that their deal was submitted appropriately. And this is especially important because we do have some automated submissions going on, and we want to make sure that the person who triggers that automation is aware that now the deal is submitted for approval. Next, we have the approval steps. So we don't have a lot of detail here because we are using a process builder to submit these for approval. However, this is where you select who should be approving. So the actual people or person who should be approving. So I clicked edit here just to kind of walk you through this and show you where to add people. So if I had a team, for example, that had, say, the diligence team, had to approve something, I could add all of those users here, or I could just have one person, and I actually can decide if there are multiple people, if we will approve or reject based on the first response, or if we need everyone to approve in order to stamp that deal as approved or rejected. So I will move out of here. All right. And so here's what happens when something is approved or something is rejected. So the final approval actions are showing you what happens when something is approved. So we have a few different things happening here. We are unchecking the deal approval checkbox needed because it is not needed any longer. And then we are also updating a status field to show that this deal has been approved. And we'll also send an email alert so that the person who submitted the deal for approval knows that the deal has now been approved. So similarly, in the final rejection actions, looks the same here. We are sending an email alert, unchecking a checkbox, and changing a status field. And then you can see if the deal is recalled from approval, that recall actions can be set here. So for example, we're just unlocking this from being edited. So the way that a deal gets submitted for approval is in this process builder. So we have a process builder called Upon Opportunity Creation and Edit. Okay, had to pause, sorry about that. So on the Upon Opportunity Creation and Update process builder, this is where we're actually submitting things for approval automatically. So you can come in and a few nodes down, you'll notice that we are calling out a few of the requirements that are actually also listed in this approvals at Kairos list. So you'll actually see all of these in this process builder. So for example, if the counteroffer field, the counteroffer price field is populated, if it's not equal to null, we will check the deal approval needed checkbox and enter submission comments based on what is happening. So this would be when a counteroffer is received. Here we have the earnest money deposit over $2,000. Again, we are saying that now we need deal approval, and it's entering a related comment there in the deal approval submission comments box. So these continue throughout. You'll see a few of these you can see in the immediate actions. It's calling out the deal approval is needed. And then below all of those submission actions, we have the node that's actually taking this deal approval needed equals true and then submitting it for approval. So you can see that this icon looks different than what you've seen before. So when deal approval needed is populated and those submission comments are populated as well, we will submit the deal for approval. So this action is driving any automated submission. And even on manual submission, we are having people, for example, in diligence, someone would would manually be checking that box, the deal or the diligence approval needed checkbox. So also in our approvals guide, you'll see where it's highlighted red. Those are actually manual submissions. So when a contract is signed, there needs to be a manual submission. Again, that's something that may be able to be automated in the future, but for now, we would need someone to see that the contract is signed and then manually submit for approval. So all the end user will need to do is check a checkbox and fill out those diligence approval comments saying, for example, in this case, the contract has been signed, please approve. And when the checkbox is checked, the deal is submitted into that diligence approvals list, or sorry, diligence approvals approval process. So we can set the submission comments here. We can decide who the submitter is. So this will affect who receives that email alert. The reason why we didn't set any entry criteria is because we would have skipped it anyway, because we're saying if these criteria are met, we will submit a deal for approval. So those are the pieces of the approval process. I'm hoping that makes sense. Just a high level recap based on the approval process requirements at Kairos. We've created a few approval processes, one for deals and one for diligence approval needed. And then we've created 2 checkboxes, one for deal approval, one for diligence approval. And when those requirements or criteria are met, those deals will be submitted for approval. So yeah, there's kind of 2 parts to this here, but this is how we have built it out for you. So I hope that that helps.